Hi everyone. We're just quickly going to recap what we did with regards to the communication process, looking at a brief description of the communication process, the elements, and giving an idea of what the definition of the communication process is. If we look at the definition as it says communication is a transactional process, which basically means that it's a give and take. Nothing is free, and the same is true for communication. When we communicate with someone, we have to give them something, but we also respect something in return. So the elements in the communication process that we discussed, we'll look at again briefly, but you have to realize that all these elements need to be present for the communication process to be completed and to be effective. If one of those elements are missing, the communication process is no longer effective, and the outcome is misunderstanding, and as you might know yourself, misunderstanding a lot of the time hands into conflict. So they are entirely dependent on each other. And if we look at what these elements are, just to quickly recap before we go to the process, there's a sender who encodes a message, and at the end of the day, to get that message across to the receiver, they have to use a channel or a medium. The receiver then decodes the message, which means hang on, trying to make sense of it, because if he doesn't make sense of it, he can't understand the communication, which means it's not effective. Once he gives us feedback, or the receiver feedback, it's okay, fine. Do I get what the person said? And the original sender will then go, hang on, you didn't understand, or I did understand, and you'll know that from the feedback that you get. Unfortunately, there's always something called noise. We can't escape it, and noise makes us not communicate effectively and leads to misunderstanding. We did 3 types of noise, if you remember correctly. The first one was physical, psychological, and semantic. You might want to look through those again before you carry on. And then finally there's the setting, which is where the communication takes place. So the process, if you can takes place in a setting, and here we have a communicator and a recipient, which is just fancy words for saying sender and receiver. The communicator encodes a message using a medium, which is then sent to the receiver, who has to decode it. Now if you look at the pictures, the communicator, the lady there in the red, she has a phone or a computer, and either one of those would be a medium that she can use to communicate to the recipient. Now you might be asking yourself, but what happened to the channel? The channel is basically the airwaves that is used to transport the message. In the case of a cell phone, it would be the telephone wires, or landline, and in a computer it would be the internet. So if you see the recipient then goes, hang on, I got what was said, and will then use a medium to give feedback, okay, after he's encoded his message that the communicator then has to decode. In this case, he's also using a cell phone or a computer. If you look at that little star going around, that means that, hang on, I got what was said. The message didn't only stay the same, but there was communication that was effective, because there was understanding. Now if you look at those 2 circles, you'll see that they don't completely overlap, because we will never have perfect understanding. We all have different points of views and frames of references and life experiences, which means we will look at the same situation or even a sentence and interpret it differently. And that is basically where noise comes in. Now see that noise can impact any element of the communication process. The communicator and the receiver might speak different languages, or the one is very clever and the other one doesn't understand the jargon she's trying to use. The message could be, if it's handwritten, in a very bad handwriting, so it's like so that's that the medium fails, and at the same time the phone could be in a situation where there's bad reception, or the computer could be down, which means the message cannot get across. So that's when the medium has noise. The message having a noise is that the information that the message carries is not getting through or is not understood. And the same then applies for the medium from the receiver side, and then feedback. Okay, if there is noise, you'll see, if we look at that star again, the message gets through the receiver, he interprets it, but oops, hang on, it's not quite coming out the way it should, and we realize we misunderstood by the time we get feedback. So there the circles move apart because it's a misunderstanding. Okay. Cool, I hope that helped, and this is from the Communication Handbook from Sheila Steinberg, and your Varsity College Student Manual. Thank you.